And so this presentation is basically about animal rights and animal suffering. So just a disclaimer, you're welcome to your own opinion, you're entitled to your own opinion, and I just hope this can give you some things to think about. So I want to start with a concept called speciesism. So let's just read the definition first. So speciesism is a prejudice or bias in favor of the interests of members of one's own species and against those of members of another species. So this is a similar concept to racism or sexism or something like that. Basically just prejudice against another species. So something to think about might be how many of you have pets? So just something to think about is what makes the pets at your home any more worthy of happiness or safety than any other animals. So here's just a little image. If you've loved animals called pets, white animals called dinner. And another quote, although other animals may be different from us, this does not make them less than us. So why do animals deserve compassion? So in my opinion, animals aren't ours, they aren't objects to be exploited for human use. So that's basically just the gist of it. So I just want to, yes?
I'm pretty sure there's meat on these sandwiches.
Yeah.
Should we just have the oranges today?
No, it's okay. You can eat them.
I don't know. I was gonna joke about that.
Also, something that I personally believe in is if the harm's already done, I don't think there's any harm in eating something that's, you can't.
Oh, very good point.
Yeah. The animal's already been killed, so I think it doesn't really matter if you eat that now. So my own story is I wasn't raised vegan or vegetarian or anything, but I saw a video last year where somebody was explaining what happens to animals in farms. So I just realized that I wanted to reduce suffering as much as possible, and that's why I'm into animal rights now. So I just want to explain what is veganism because I just said I'm a vegan. So here's the definition that I like. Veganism is a way of living which seeks to exclude as far as is possible and practicable all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose. So to me, veganism isn't just a diet, it's not just a way of eating, it's a whole way of living which is centered around compassion to all creatures. So here's another quote. Being vegan is not a diet, it is not a religion, political party, elite group, club, or cult. It is conscious, responsible, ethical decision to make every reasonable effort to live and enjoy life without harming, enslaving, exploiting, depleting, contaminating, and killing. So addressing myths. What are some things that you guys think people use to rationalize, to say it's okay to use animals? So that's kind of a weird question. Yeah.
I know, well, this is a small case, but cows with milk. I'm pretty sure I heard that cows' udders can explode if they can't expel milk. But that makes me wonder how wild cows survive. I'm not a big farm guy, I don't know this, but that's one reason why it could be okay. It could actually save the cows to use it for milk.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think possibly an explanation to that, again, I'm not like a super expert on this either, but I think cows have been like bred over time to produce as much milk as possible, so maybe if they aren't milked, then that could be painful. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not an expert, but does anyone have any other ideas?
Another one, you could have them butchered and eaten if they're in pain or something. That's probably acceptable. Kind of like how if a bug gets its legs intertwined or something, we kill it to put it out of its misery, sort of like that kind of case.
Yeah.
And even in hospitals with humans, sometimes Oregon recently implemented the right to die, which is that if you have like cancer or something and there's really no cure, you don't just have to sit there till death. You can be euthanized before that, so you don't have to go through the pain and just die peacefully.
Yeah. Yeah, that's possible. Any others? Okay, so something that I thought of were like some things that people could use to rationalize using animals. Animals can't think and reason like humans can, so animals might not be able to think in the exact same way that we do, but I kind of have a quote that emphasize this more, but even if the animals can't think, they don't have complex processes, which there are some things that show that they might, but even if they don't, we know that they can experience pain and suffering, and so I personally want to reduce that as much as possible. My next one is plants are alive too. Why don't we object to harming plants? Well, plants aren't sentient. They don't have a nervous system, they don't have a brain, they can't suffer, they can't feel pain, so there's not really any harm in harvesting plants. Eating animal products is natural, it's part of the life cycle. So if we explain things that are natural as things that we did thousands of years ago, then we should be living outside, murdering rival tribes, but we're not, I think.
Not today, at least.
Right. So yeah, I don't think we can just go to the grocery store and buy foods that are not made from animals. And then eating vegan is unhealthy. There are numerous studies that show that it isn't unhealthy. I think my next slide has a quote. No, here's the other quote that I was talking about. The question is not can they reason nor can they talk, but can they suffer? So that's kind of what I was talking about with the first myth. Yeah, here's the quote about the health aspect. Just a quote from the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee. So they just are basically saying that it's more health promoting, a plant-based diet is more health promoting and is associated with a lesser environmental impact. So again, with the health aspect, on the left we have, that's on the right. On the right we have bacon, and on the left we have tempeh, which is a soy product in case you weren't aware. So I'm sure you guys can guess which has more protein, so we'll just kind of quickly go through this. So the 300 calories of bacon contains 40% of your daily amount of protein, and the same amount of calories of tempeh has 62% of your daily intake of protein. And then for iron, beef is generally considered a good source of iron, but lentils actually have pretty much 3 times more iron than beef by calories. And then calcium, so we have milk and tofu. So 100 calories of milk contains 30% of your daily intake of calcium, and 100 calories of tofu contains 43% of your daily intake of calcium. Okay, so now I'm going to be explaining factory farming. So I'm just going to be explaining kind of the conditions of that animals have to endure in factory farms. So I just want to begin by defining factory farming. So factory farming is the process of raising animals for meat or other animal products with the most output and the least cost as possible. So in case you weren't interested in the statistics, there were 28.5 million animals factory farmed in the US alone in 2012. So cows specifically, so we have dairy cows and there are beef cows. So dairy cows, in order to produce dairy, with the most output, they need to be pregnant, and they need to give birth to a baby cow. And so after that baby cow is born, within 24 hours, it's taken away from its mother and is killed for veal 3 months later. And within those 3 months, it's contained in a pen that's too small for it to turn around in, just to keep it tender. And then within 5 years, the dairy cow is killed because it's just so worn out from being pregnant so many times. And there are body parts that are ripped or cut off without pain medication, like horns, for example, so that they don't hurt each other, since in factory farms animals are in such close proximity to each other. And the horns aren't, there are nerves on the horns and blood, and it's a messy, painful process, and there's no pain medication. And then branding, I'm sure you've seen cows with brands on them. It's basically a scar because they've been burned with a hot piece of metal and caused third-degree burns. Yeah. And then chickens.
Someone has a question.
Oh, sorry.
Now, I can't say I'm actually helping prevent this whole cow farming process, but I actually don't eat beef very often. I also don't eat pork. I mean, I eat chicken, I eat like chicken sausage, I eat turkey, but I don't really eat beef and pork. It's something my mom started doing.
Cool, nice.
Well, we're about to talk about the chickens, so get ready to have the chicken strips too.
So chickens specifically, there were 9 billion chickens killed or there are 9 billion chickens killed per year and 305 million used for eggs, all in the U.S. alone. And so one thing about chickens is that they naturally flock in small flocks of less than 20, and but in factory farms they're not able to, since they're either in cages if they're producing eggs, or they're in a big area really close to each other. And so so that frustration of not being able to flock often comes out in pecking each other, and so to prevent the pecking, farmers will cut or sear off the tip of chickens' beaks so they don't harm each other. And again, that's not painless, and there's no pain medication. And it isn't cost effective to raise male chickens, so as soon as they're born, they're literally thrown into a grinder alive or placed in a plastic bag to suffocate. So as a part of the feather removal process, after their throats have been slit, they're placed in big vats of boiling water, or just really hot water. But a lot of times they're not unconscious at the time that they're placed in the hot water, even though their slits have been slit. Yeah. And then pigs. So pigs specifically have been proven to be smarter than dogs. They have been taught to play video games, so we know that they can understand cause and effect. And they've been taught to sit for a treat, so similar to dogs. So the sick and unwanted pigs are killed by being shot, beaten, or starved. There's a specific process, I think. Yeah.
To be fair, being shot is like a far more painless death than being beaten or starved, so I can't see why shooting is really that cruel.
Yeah, that's true. I would agree with that. I don't believe that killing animals in general is humane, or I think it's cruel to kill an animal in the first place.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah. But it's probably less painless than being beaten. So yeah, that's true, but I still wouldn't agree with shooting a pig. So yeah, tails, teeth, and ears are all cut without pain medication. And again, that's not painless, and there's no pain medication. And then there are specific crates that pig. Yes.
Why are the ears cut off?
That's a really good question.
It's a delicacy in the South.
Oh really?
It's true. It's also like a dog treat. People use the ears for dog treats. Like if you go into like a PetSmart, you'll see like.
Well, it could be that they cut off the ears for a different reason, but to get like maximum effect out of the pig, they just sell it as dog food. Kind of like how the Indians used every part of the buffalo that they had for something, but they use as much as the pig as they can.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then so when pigs are pregnant or have just given birth to their piglets, they're placed in gestation and farrowing crates, and those are so small they can't turn around. They're placed in them for months at a time, and they're so small and inhumane that they've been banned in the UK, Canada, and many US states. So, I have a few slightly disturbing images, so feel free to turn away if you'd like. Okay, so I also want to talk about the environmental effects of animal agriculture. So I'm just going to give you guys some statistics. So 18% of all greenhouse gas emissions are from animal agriculture, and that's primarily methane. And methane is 30 times more potent at trapping heat than CO2. So, and all of transportation produces less greenhouse gases than animal agriculture. So cars, planes, trains, buses, ships, all of transportation is less greenhouse gases than animal agriculture. And animal waste runoff into bodies of water causes eutrophication, which is basically a process that creates dead zones, so nothing can live in that body of water anymore. So 5% of all water use in the U.S. is for private homes, and 55% is for animal agriculture. So for example, 1 pound of beef requires 2,500 gallons of water to be produced. And livestock covers almost half of the Earth's surface, of the land, and animal agriculture is responsible for 91% of rainforest destruction, and that's specifically cattle ranching for the most part. So what's wrong with humane animal products? So there are all these, if you go to like Whole Foods, there's different levels of humanely raised meat. So to me, what's wrong with that is that animals are still being exploited and they're still being killed. And then if you want to think about the environmental impact of that, grass-fed beef, for example, uses 35% more water and produces 5 times more greenhouse gases. And ranching causes desertification, which is basically a process where nothing can grow in the soil anymore since it's been trampled on so much. And they're also sent to the same slaughterhouses. So this cartoon kind of shows there's like a cow and there's 2 routes to this same slaughterhouse. There's like the organic free range route and then there's the factory raised route, but they both lead to the same slaughterhouse, which is pretty much how it works in real life. Yeah, they're sent to the same slaughterhouses. So here's a chart about what different labels, different like certifications on egg labels, what they mean. So we have cage-free, free-range, free-roaming, pasture-raised, and certified organic. None of them restrict beak cutting, and cage-free doesn't allow outdoor access. The rest of them do, but they don't. They're often like a small little door, and there's not really any regulation of how much they're allowed to be outside, so they could keep it open like one day of the year or something like that. And it's usually to like a small little concrete area. So here's a quote: "To examine whether something is humane, first determine whether you would want it done to you." So what can we do about factory farming? So probably the most obvious thing is to reduce your consumption of animal products like meat and cheese, dairy products, things like that, and eggs. So my suggestion, if you are interested in reducing your consumption of animal products, is to, well, you don't have to, go vegan or vegetarian overnight. You can just start introducing one totally plant-based meal per week or per 2 weeks, however you want to do it. And then I would also suggest focusing on foods that you already love that are cruelty-free. So what are some foods that you guys like to eat that are free of animal products?
Rice mixes and stuff.
Nice.
Lentils.
Meat, well, sort of meat products, but like they use vegetarian ingredients instead. It's sort of like meat substitutes.
Oh, like bean burgers?
Yeah.
Made a pretty dope ratatouille on Wednesday. I was like, I accidentally, I went, there's nothing in here. This is good for all my vegan friends when I go to a potluck. Yeah. That's the thing you worry about when you hit a certain age. Potlucks.
Gonna bring.
Alright, and then also you can try introducing new recipes and ingredients, and also read labels to know what's in your food, so you know what you're eating. And then also you can choose synthetic or secondhand leather. So I have 2 bags, and I'm wondering if you guys can guess which is synthetic and which is real leather.
I'd say that one is actually.
I don't know.
Trick question.
So one is actually synthetic.
Oh, okay.
I would say that one is probably the synthetic.
Okay. Any other guesses?
I'm gonna say black
I'm
is
with him.
synthetic, and I'm gonna say the brown is real.
Okay. So this one is real, and this one is synthetic. So obviously it's a little bit convincing, at least. And you can also get secondhand leather at consignment shops, thrift stores, eBay, places like that. And another benefit is that synthetic and secondhand are almost always cheaper. So, okay, so animal entertainment is another area of animal exploitation. So what I'm going to be referring to are things like circuses, zoos, and rodeos, SeaWorld, places like that. So the problem that I have with animal entertainment is that animals perform under the fear of being physically abused. So, for example, in circuses, tigers don't naturally want to jump through a flaming hoop, for example. They only do it because they know that when they do, they don't get whipped. Yes.
I have heard that Ringling Brothers Bar and Bailey was recently shut down after their whole elephant act was cut. So I mean that's doing some, right?
Yeah.
And if it makes you feel any better, the circus really isn't as much of a thing as it used to be, so
Yeah.
you know, that's out on its way out, so that will be out of the picture soon, and
Yeah.
we'll just have to worry about rodeos, I guess, and zoos, as it
Yeah.
says on there.
Zoos are actually a really great resource of research and a really great way to preserve habitats, because some of the zoos and the conservation areas in this state are some of the best research. They get the most money, they have a connection with the communities that they serve. A lot of the times, the reason that animals are in a confinement, they're in a contained area, is because they can't be released back into the wild. They wouldn't survive. And so, not that like your argument is incorrect. I'm just saying that from a scientific perspective, zoos serve a purpose that's larger than just whether people come in to see animals or not.
Right. Yeah, and I think a great alternative that I'll be explaining in just a second is animal sanctuaries. So
We have one here in Denver, or
Yeah.
Colorado.
yeah, there's a bunch of them. So that could be another alternative to
Mm-hmm.
still being able to see the animals and research them without inhumane practices. And then also with zoos and SeaWorld and places like that, animals are confined for the majority of their lives, so they're restricted from their natural behaviors like interacting with others, and just whatever else they might do in the wild. So I have a little video, just a really quick video.
Can you push
Oh,
the
yeah.
so that red? Yep.
That didn't do anything.
Nope. Hold on. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Okay, sorry.
Excuse me. Thank you. Okay.
Could you do that again? I don't
Yeah.
think I caught them all.
Sure. Oh no, I just turned that off.
Well, that's
That would maybe still involve animals,
that's
but
nothing.
what?
I was talking to her.
Sorry. Yeah. Any alternatives that you guys can think of? Yeah.
Well, maybe just research facilities in general. Just like they have research facilities for animals to do like I said, research and to find ways to preserve them. But they also have like big windows and have tours, you know, that could be better.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really know much about that, so maybe. Yeah.
Safaris in the animal's natural habitat.
Yeah. I also don't know much about that. But yeah, it's probably also an alternative. Any other ideas?
Animal sanctuaries, I know you mentioned
Yeah.
that, but there's a few in Colorado.
Yeah. So there's one in Lafayette that I've been to. There's one the one in Brighton that I've been to. There's also one in Lafayette, I think, or it's opening soon. And there's
You in Lafayette, really? I think, is that the one called Love in Arms?
it's gonna open soon, or maybe it's still, I'm not sure. And then there's the Wild Animal Sanctuary. I'm not sure what that is. And then there's some wolf sanctuaries.
There's a bird one too.
Oh.
There's a Louisville somewhere. I don't remember what it's called. There's a raptor sanctuary.
So
It's not a sanctuary. It's they take animals that are hurt and
A refuge.
yeah.
Rehabilitation.
I literally just talked to someone that was learning how to do that for the raptor birds and
The
like how to
wildlife.
hold on to
Yeah,
them like
that's
little
all.
babies.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Yeah.
So some other ideas that I had were Teachers of the Humane Society. So maybe those aren't generally considered like something that you would go visit, but I like to go visit them because the kittens there are cute. And we can also hike and look at wildlife. Obviously, we live somewhere where we can just like step outside and see like deer or foxes or something like that. And you can also watch a nature documentary if you're interested in seeing more like exotic wildlife. So animal testing. So all of these animals, cats, dogs, mice, rats, rabbits, primates, are all tested on for various reasons. So I'm gonna talk in really brief, surface level, I guess, because this is just, to me, super horrifying and disgusting. So just in really general terms, animals are given diseases like heart attacks or strokes, and then they're killed. And all these animals are killed at the end of experiments. But when they're given diseases, they're killed to examine what effect that had on their bodies. And then they also are force-fed or injected with drugs or chemicals to again see what effect that has on them. Or chemicals are dripped onto their skin. Also, body parts can be cut off, and then things are implanted in those areas where those things were cut out. Talking in really general terms because I think it's disgusting. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. And then they're all killed at the end, and they're not given pain medication. So my next few images are slightly disturbing if you'd like to look away. So. Okay, so what can we do about animal testing? So I think the biggest thing that we can do is to look for cruelty-free symbols on things like makeup, body care products, toothpaste, soap, like all sorts of things like that. So we can look for the cruelty-free symbol, which is on the next slide. And you can also make your own products, which probably would not be tested on animals. And then if you're going to be dissecting some sort of animal in class, you can talk to your teacher and see if you can do a simulation, which has been shown to be just as, if not more, effective than the real cutting open an animal. So here are the symbols. On top are the symbols of veganism, and the bottom are cruelty-free symbols. So if you see those, that means it was not tested on animals and good to use. So, what can we do overall? Because I talked about factory farming, animal entertainment, and animal testing. So I would say one of the biggest things you can do is to reduce your consumption of animal products. So again, focus on foods that you already enjoy, and then choose synthetic or secondhand leather. So you can buy it at, I think I forgot to mention before, you can buy synthetic leather at like Target. A lot of stores have synthetic leather, and then also like thrift stores, consignment shops, eBay, places like that for secondhand. And then choose activities that don't harm animals, like animal sanctuaries or watching a documentary or something like that. And then buy products that are cruelty-free. So before I open it up to questions from you, I want to ask you a question, and that is, what are some things that you might implement in your life now that might help animals, if anything? Yeah.
Definitely looking for that cruelty-free symbol. I've never even heard of it before, but it seems like such a great option.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
I don't like support going to zoos at all, like they make me sad. So yeah, I guess that's.
I was never a fan of the zoo, and I think thanks to this, now I don't really have to go anymore at all.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else? Does anyone have any questions for me?
I do. We raise chickens for eggs, so where would that fall on your sense of veganism? I mean, I think we take very good care of our chickens. They get a lot of space. They,
Right.
Yeah.
So where would that fall in this construct?
So I think that raising chickens, like if you're raising them, I think you're probably not harming them at all. But the only issue I have with raising chickens yourself is that where did you get the, like my two questions would be, where did you get the chickens from?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
what are you going to do with the chickens when they stop laying eggs? So, like as I said in the presentation, they often kill male chicks in places that produce eggs and chickens.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then also chickens don't lay eggs their whole lives, so
We send them to chicken farm, not, I mean to places that, chicken heaven, no. There are places you can send your chickens where they live out the rest of their life when they're not laying.
Really?
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes me think because growing up in rural North Carolina, there's a plant called kudzu. It's an invasive species. Nothing eats it except for goats. And we got a bunch of goats to eat it off of our land. And then a bunch of the goats had kids. And then we started selling off the goats. And I'm like, oh, am I a good person now? Because I ate things that I knew. So, like from kid to burger, I was like, okay, I'm gonna live with that. Yeah.
I mean, I think like home raised eggs are way better than like factory farmed eggs, but there's still the issue like where did it come from and where is it
Yeah,
gonna go?
I hadn't thought about that part.
Yeah.
I know where it goes, I don't know where it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have a rooster. Raised, so some of them we raised some chicks, right? Didn't somebody raise Laura raised chicks from eggs, I think?
Yeah, one time.
Once, but we usually buy them, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for coming.
That
Appreciate
was
it.
awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, I have a few things to hand around. So I'm going to be starting an email list. I'm going to be sending out one vegan recipe per week. So if you guys are interested in signing up for that email list, I can pass this around. I'm not interested. And then also I have I have some more resources like websites and places that you can go to for more information. Also just like ideas for consignment shops, animal sanctuaries, and things like that. So in case you want to grab one, I'll pass these around as well.